Hey people, welcome back to the channel. This is a story in which Naruto is Madara's and Hashirama's grandson and is very OP and smart. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy the video. Leave a comment if you want to suggest a fanfic for me to read. Check the description for credits and support the creator of the story. So let's begin. Chapter 45 Beginnings Otogakure Somewhere deep in Otogakure, in a cave almost pitch black stood a single figure, stoically looking towards his enemies. The cave looked more like a fighting arena than anything else. Huge stone walls surrounded the battlegrounds. A single man stood in front of hundreds of enemies. He had but only one purpose, to kill them all. The figure calmly observed his enemies as they tensed for battle. The figure calmly removed his blade from its sheath. Even in the dark cave, the sword glistened. It was a simple chakudo, a straight one-edged blade with a black hilt. The sword glistened once again as the figure suddenly disappeared and reappeared on the shoulder of one of his enemies. The figure swinged his blade effortlessly and watched as the enemy's head fell to the ground. Blood spurted from the wound, but the figure had already vanished. The blade sparkled with electricity as it electrocuted multiple enemies. The figure ventured deep inside the arena where the only thing visible were the sparks of the sword. Squelched thumb with a single stroke of his blade, enemies fell by the groups. The figure had yet to receive a single drop of blood in his clothes. An enemy managed to hit the figure with a fierce punch. The figure poofed in smoke to reveal that it was a clone. The enemy didn't even have time to understand what happened until he was pierced in the chest by the figure. Magnificent, a dark voice whispered in a corner. The said figure had golden eyes with a black vertical slit. He was a tall man with extremely pale skin, waist-length black hair and purple markings around his eyes. And they say hard work can outgrow a genius, Orochimaru said, chuckling darkly. Genetics is what determines the skill of a shinobi, Orochimaru licking his lips. Orochimaru was watching another figure train. This figure had a white long-sleeved shirt which was open at the torso. He wore dark blue pants with a blue cloth hanging from halfway up his stomach to his knees. He also wore black arm guards that covered his forearms and stretched up to reach his upper biceps. He also wore a purple rope belt around his waist, tied in a bow, in which he carried his sword. Kaiten. Gukaku no Jutsu, great fireball technique, the figure said as he released a massive fireball towards his enemies, melting three of them. The figure ducked beneath a punch and disappeared in a show of speed. He reappeared a few meters away only to watch his enemy's body being split in half. The figure continued his onslaught upon his enemies. They stood no chance against this figure who had superior speed, strength and sight. The figure disappeared and another group of enemies fell to the ground. He flicked his sword and let the blood fall to the ground. The figure turned backwards to gaze at Orochimaru. His black locks of hair flowed freely in the wind. Blood-red eyes with three black tomos gazed impassively towards Orochimaru, who couldn't help but smirk. 1,000 enemies stood before him and he didn't even flinch, Orochimaru thought to himself. You have done well, Orochimaru said, walking into the arena and placing his hand on his shoulder. Young Sasuke-kun, Orochimaru said, chuckling. I live to serve you, Orochimaru-sama, Sasuke replied as he bowed his head. Both of them turned around as they saw the Edo Tensei form of Kabuto walking towards them. If you go, Sasuke-kun, Orochimaru said. As you wish, Orochimaru-sama, Sasuke said, bowing deeply and calmly walking out of the room. Kabuto watched as Sasuke left the arena and walked away before turning to his master. He has matured well, Kabuto stated, and Orochimaru could only nod. How long do you think it will take until his physical conditioning is complete? Orochimaru asked Giddy to take his new vessel. I'd say about a couple more weeks. He's already invulnerable to all poisons and he has accepted the curse seal very well, with full control over the level 2. All in all, I would say that he's an A-rank shinobi bearing on S rank, Kabuto explained, and Orochimaru nodded, agreeing with the analysis. Though I wonder why you called him Sasuke, Kabuto stated, pushing his glasses up. He's supposed to be a clone from the original Sasuke, so I think that he should have the same name, Orochimaru said, shrugging his shoulders. In the meantime, get him a friend, Orochimaru said, chuckling darkly. A friend? Kabuto asked, confused, until Orochimaru nodded. You wish for him to awaken the Mangekyo, Kabuto stated, and Orochimaru only chuckled. You realize that he's a half-blood. Unlike Naruto-kun, he's going to go blind should he ever use them too much, Kabuto explained, but Orochimaru shook his head in denial. There are many ways to prevent the loss of sight, Orochimaru said. Many ways, kukukuku, Senju compound, a new day was just arriving at Konoha. It was summer and, as such, it was already a pretty warm day. Konoha always had a nice weather, neither too hot in the summer or too cold in the winter. Not that it mattered for our favorite couple who were lying down together in their bed. Naruto was lying on the bed with Hinata lying on top of his chest. Both of them were awake, they were just enjoying the company and warmth of the other. Hinata shivered as Naruto softly ran in his hand over her back. Hinata looked up to see Naruto deep in thought. What are you thinking so hard about? Hinata asked. Naruto looked down from the ceiling and into Hinata. Nothing, Naruto said, gently kissing her forehead. I'm just going through the things I learned from the Akatsuki, Naruto said, sighing. Why don't you tell me? I might be able to help, Hinata said, and Naruto nodded. Sure, but first I need to tell you a story, Naruto said, and Hinata raised an eyebrow. It was a time of war. And so Naruto told her everything he knew about the origin of chakra, Raikudo Sennin and the Jubi, their battle, the creation of the tailed beasts, and the sealing of the Geto Mazo in the moon for protection. Wow, Hinata said, surprised that Naruto knew so much about how it all began. So the Akatsuki plan on sealing all of the bijou is on this statue to bring forth the Jubi? Hinata asked, and Naruto pondered. Well, they didn't exactly say that they wanted to bring the Jubi, but it is the most logical outcome, Naruto explained, looking back to the ceiling. Why don't you summon the statue? Hinata asked, confused. You said that only a Rinnegan user can summon and control the statue, Hinata explained. I can summon the statue, but doing so would reveal that I have the Rinnegan. Something that I don't want they to know as of yet, Naruto replied. Space-time ninjutsu is the pinnacle of chakra manipulation. There is nothing preventing them to summon the Geto Mazo back should I ever summon it here, Naruto explained. That is my biggest problem. There is no way to keep the statue away from their hands until we kill Nagato and destroy his Rinnegan. If we destroy his eyes we win, Naruto said. How about sending the statue to your dimension? Hinata asked, but Naruto shook his head again. The summoning jutsu can cross dimensions. Nagato can summon the Geto Mazo no matter where it may be. I have been thinking about a seal to block the summons, but I didn't get much far. Like I said, space-time ninjutsu is the peak of chakra manipulation. Even the smallest of techniques is dangerous, Naruto explained. Have you ever thought about destroying it permanently? Hinata wondered, but Naruto only chuckled. If the statue could be destroyed, the sage would have done it long ago, Naruto replied, sighing. You seem to have this well thought out, Hinata said, chuckling. Of course, Naruto quickly replied. I may be strong and have the Rinnegan, but I don't want to take my chances against the Jubi, Naruto said, chuckling. Pussy, Kurama replied from the room. Kurama only spent time inside the seal when Naruto was gone on missions, otherwise he would sleep on the floor or walk through the forests of Konoha. Says you, Naruto replied, throwing a pillow at the Biju. I would like to see you against him, Naruto replied. It's only the 10 tails. How much stronger than the Kyuubi could he really be? Hinata wondered. It's not just the 10 tails. It's the combination of all the Biju. All the power of the tailed beasts gathered under one host. It's the real god of this planet. Although he doesn't have a conscience, he's more instinctive, Kurama started. He's the primordial entity of this world. The first being, the creator and destroyer of everything. He's the one that breathed life into this planet and the only thing that can take it away, Kurama said. He's the god that created countries and is the power to swallow oceans, split the land, carry mountains, and so much more. You can't even measure his power. If there was someone to refer as Mother Nature, it would be the Jubi, Kurama explained as both Naruto and Hinata looked at him with blank stares. According to the legends, should the Jubi ever be revived, it would mean the end of the world, Kurama finished and Naruto blinked. Why didn't you tell me this earlier? Naruto asked groaning. He never thought that the Jubi would be such powerful creature. You didn't ask, Kurama replied before yawning and returning to sleep. You see what I have to deal with, Naruto said turning to Hinata crying anime tears. Hinata could only chuckle. You don't need to worry so much, Hinata started, you are not alone in this. No man should carry this burden alone, Hinata stated. I know. But with me having the Rinnegan I feel as if it's my duty to protect the planet, Naruto replied. But enough of this dark mood. How about we go for breakfast? Naruto asked and Hinata nodded. Senju compound, kitchen morning, Naruto and Hinata both said as they arrived at the kitchen, greeting everyone. Minato replied only for Naruto's jaw to drop. Why you? Naruto stuttered when Minato gave him the traditional Uchiha grunt. Kushina dropped to the ground laughing and Minato couldn't hold back a chuckle as they watched Naruto stutter. You fell for it, Kushina said but Naruto had a blank look on his face. It was a prank, Tobirama explained. Oh you are back, Naruto said and Tobirama nodded. Tsunade has placed me as the new envoy towards Kiri, Tobirama explained and Naruto nodded. It was a really good grunt though, Hashirama said scratching his chin. Bitch please, I can do that better than him, Naruto stated as he sat down on the table. I will take that bet, Minato said as he and the Senju brothers stared at Naruto in concentration. The ladies couldn't help but sigh and chuckle. They are all old enough but they can still act like children, Mito said shaking her head. Isn't that why we like them? Hinata rhetorically asked and both redheads nodded. Naruto got up from the table and cleared his throat. He arched his lips ever so slightly to allow a small arrogant smirk to appear. Naruto cocked his head slightly to the side, allowing his bangs to slowly show his Sharingan eyes. Naruto released a deep grunt and smirked at their reactions. No, Minato wailed on the ground crying anime tears. I worked so hard these last few weeks on that grunt, Minato cried on Kushina's shoulder while she patted his back. There, Kushina whispered on Minato's ear. I've gotta say that grunt was a good one, Tobirama said while Hashirama only laughed. How can you do it so well? Minato asked curious. I'm older than you, Minato explained. You didn't have to put up with Sasuke for 6 years in the academy. He was the epitome of Uchihaness. I heard multiple grunts every single day, Naruto groaned as he explained. Ding dong, I will get it, Naruto said walking towards the entrance of the compound as he heard the bell. He opened the door and was surprised to see who was at the door. Hanabi, Naruto said. The person standing in front of him was like a smaller version of Hinata. She was dressed in the traditional formal kimonos. What are you doing here? Naruto asked surprised. Naruto-sama, I hereby accept your invitation to visit the Senju compound, Hanabi said and Naruto blinked as he scratched the back of his head. Yeah sure, Naruto said as he opened the door and allowed Hanabi to enter the compound. Naruto thought it was strange for Hanabi to come this early in the morning and without a bodyguard no less. Wait here, Naruto said as he went slightly ahead to warn Hashirama and the others to put up their masks. It wouldn't be a good should Hanabi find out the identity of the dragons. An S-rank secret discovered by an academy student, like that happens all the time. We have a visitor, Naruto said as both he and Hanabi entered the kitchen. Hanabi was surprised to see so many people in there. There were at least 5 masked persons, each mask bearing a different color. There was Tamari, Kankuro, Gaara, Fu and finally Hinata. Hanabi, Hinata said surprised to see her younger sister. What are you doing here? Hinata asked confused. She never in a million years expected her younger sister to come to the Senju compound. Anyo, Hanabi stuttered as she poked her fingers. She didn't realize there would so many people in here and that alone made her little shy. Naruto-sama said that I could visit anytime, Hanabi said looking down and making Hinata smile. You are among family, no need for formalities. Besides, Hiyashi isn't here to see, Naruto said as he sat down at the table next to Hinata. Breakfast? Naruto asked just in time to hear Hanabi's stomach rumble. She turned a shade of red that would put the old Hinata to shame. Don't mind them. They are just grown-up kids, Red Kushina said as the males snickered. Red approached Hanabi and placed a hand of her shoulder, leading her to the table and seating here to Hinata's right. Hanabi hesitantly picked up a piece of bread as Hinata smiled and turned to her, handing her the butter. She ate breakfast rather quiet and preferred to observe everyone else. Everyone talked and laughed out loud. It was such a different ambient from the Hyuga clan. The Senju clan was the only one, besides the Uchihas, that had enough status to compete with the Hyugas. And yet, the Senju weren't all uptight like her father and family. The Senju had a warm and welcoming ambient. She smiled slightly as she watched Naruto compete with the red-masked woman to see who could finish the meal faster. Everyone was sitting in random places. In the Hyuga clan, Hiyashi, the clan head, always sat at the edge of the table with her daughter, the clan heiress, to his right. It was a way to signify his power and status inside the clan. But, unlike Hiyashi, Naruto sat in the middle of the table. He didn't even seem to care for manners while eating. Hanabi giggled as she watched Hinata wipe Naruto's mouth as he was completely stuffed. One thing you should know about the Senju, Hinata started gathering Hanabi's attention. When it comes to food, especially ramen, they can put the Akamichi clan to shame, Hinata said giggling as she watched Naruto glare at Red. Is it always like this? Hanabi asked in disbelief. She was surprised as to how the strongest clan in the world could act so casual. The compound was so full of life unlike hers that gave a cold and lonely vibe. Even if the Byakugan could see through walls. Pretty much, Hinata replied in taking a sip, though it's difficult for all of us to gather together for breakfast. Each one of us has their duties and schedules that rarely coincide, Hinata explained and watched as Hanabi picked up a napkin and cleaned her mouth very slowly. Hanabi then proceeded to straighten herself and adopt her neutral face. No need to be so formal Hanabi-chan, Hinata said and watched as Hanabi's back slightly slumped backwards. How are you so strong? Hanabi muttered beneath her breath but loud enough for Hinata to hear. To-sama always says that I'm weak and that I'll never be anything like you, Hanabi said sadly breaking Naruto from his eating contest. Why would Hiyashi compare you to Hinata-chan of all people? Naruto asked confused and watched as Hanabi became slightly uncomfortable in her seat with all the attention. She didn't want to come off as weak or needy. To-sama says that Hyuga blood runs strong in her. He says that I will never become strong as her and that I can only chase her shadow, Hanabi said sadly making Hinata place her arm around her protectively. He's doing the same thing he did to me. And now he's undermining her because she can't reach his expectations once again, Hinata thought sadly. He always has and keeps tabs on the bingo book to track your progress, Hanabi replied. He says that you are probably stronger than the Hokage. That you are the first S-rank shinobi of the Hyuga clan, Hanabi replied and Hinata was surprised that her father was keeping tabs on her like that. Don't worry Hanabi-chan, Hinata said comforting her little sister. Me and Naruto-kun have a plan. You just have to wait a little longer, Hinata said and Hanabi looked up confused. What plan? Hanabi asked confused about what she was referring to. That is a secret, Hinata said playfully poking her nose. If you want I can help you train, Hinata said and Hanabi looked dumbfounded. Why would you do that? Hanabi asked confused. I've done nothing for you and in the end you would just be pleasing my father, Hanabi replied frowning. Because you are my little sister and regardless of what father says, you are strong in your own right, Hinata firmly replied. Really? Hanabi asked hopefully with her eyes tearing up. Of course, Hinata replied hugging her little sister for the first time. Hanabi cried for the first time in her life. Releasing all the sadness, anger and loneliness she felt by living her whole life with an unsupportive family and a harsh and stern father. She had to leave her house to find her real home. Poor girl, Tobirama said dropping his mask as he watched Hanabi fall asleep in Hinata's shoulders. It looks like the Hyugas are taking the Uchiha's place. Either you live up to their standards or you become an outcast, Hashirama replied sighing. Even back in the days in which he was Hokage, it was always difficult dealing with the Hyugas. Only the main branch is like that and even then there are some exceptions like Hanabi. But all of that will change soon enough, Naruto said in a firm tone. You should be careful to what you are planning Naruto, Minato warned. The branch house has always resented their lives as slaves. Should the main house ever falter, they might take their chance and that would lead to a civil war inside the clan, Minato advised. Not with what me and Hinata-chan have planned, Naruto replied. Once they become aware of what is happening it will be too late. Our plan will be swift and effective. There will be no time for a civil war, Naruto replied as he watched Hinata carry Hanabi away to their bedroom. The poor girl was exhausted. A few minutes later Hinata returned with Hana. That prick is going to get it for not raising any of you properly, Hana said, pissed off that her husband would treat her children like this. Don't worry Ka-san. That will change soon enough, Hinata assured. In the meantime, why don't you get to know Hanabi-chan? She has never met you, Hinata said, and Hana was surprised but happy since she could bond with her younger daughter. The one she never got to see. Later that day ding dong. Again. Naruto groaned to himself, propelling himself from his bed. He didn't have much to do today other than train or meditate. Everyone else was busy. The dragons were busy in Anbu. Gaara and his brothers had missions with Anko. Fu went to the Aburame compound and Hinata was bonding with her little sister and mother. Naruto opened the door and immediately frowned at who stood at the gate. He had long, black hair, and white eyes. He wore a very traditional, loose-fitting robes with a long-sleeved, brown haori. Hyuga Hiyashi was standing in front of Naruto with an impassive gaze, as if Naruto should be honored to be in his presence. Next to Hiyashi stood a single-branch bodyguard. That particular bodyguard was none other than Hyuga Neji. Long time no see Neji, Naruto said, and Neji simply nodded. What can I do for you Hiyashi? Naruto asked, and Hiyashi scoffed at his blatant disrespect for his social status. And even more that Naruto greeted his bodyguard first instead of him. I've come to fetch my daughter, Hiyashi replied, placing both hands in the opposing arm's sleeve. I know that she came to the Senju compound early in the morning, Hiyashi replied in his monotone voice. What makes you say that? Naruto asked, curious, making Hiyashi snort. She is only an academy student. Do you really think someone of her skill level could evade our all-seeing eyes? Hiyashi rhetorically asked, almost poofing his chest with pride. A branch guard saw her and immediately informed me of what had occurred. I kept my distance and followed her here, Hiyashi explained. I see, Naruto simply replied. It happens that she is busy training with Hinata-chan. Why don't I drop her off at the Hyuga compound when she's done? Naruto offered and almost took a step back when he saw a small smile creep into Hashi's face. You planned for this to happen, didn't you? Naruto asked, narrowing his eyes. Not entirely, Hiyashi simply replied. I knew that you invited Hanabi to visit her sister and I knew very well that she would accept this offer. That is why I refused when she asked me, to further her incentive into coming here and into the welcoming arms of her older sister, Hiyashi explained, and Naruto shook his head. You are going to lose her too if you keep treating her like that, Naruto explained, and Hiyashi scoffed. I'm not stupid Senju-sama, Hiyashi replied, almost smirking. I know my daughter far better than you think I do. And I know that Hinata wouldn't hesitate to help her little sister should the need ever rise, Hiyashi replied, and Naruto just stared at him. I'm a realistic person. I know just how strong my daughter has become and I know that she grew into it without my supervision or guiding hands, Hiyashi explained, and Naruto wondered where this was going. Who better than her to mold Hanabi into a strong shinobi? Hiyashi asked, slightly smirking. Naruto simply smiled as two golden chains sprouted from the ground and snared Neji. What are you doing? Neji yelled as he struggled to get free of the chains. Hiyashi was about to question just that when Naruto blurred out of his sight. Hiyashi didn't even understand what happened until he was pinned to the wall with Naruto pressing his arm to his neck. You bastard, Naruto growled, increasing his pressure and making it difficult for Hiyashi to breathe. You toy with people's feelings just to get what you want. You turned Hanabi into a shy girl just so she could find refuge in her sister's arms. All of that just so she could become stronger. Naruto asked, glaring at Hiyashi. Blood-red eyes glowing and staring straight into Hiyashi's white ones. Danzo-sama was right. Power is the only thing that matters in our world. Everything else is just a fairy tale. Do you really think that Konoha became the strongest of the 5 nations by playing by the rules or saying that the pen is mightier than the sword? Hiyashi asked. You are nothing but a naive kid, Hiyashi replied, making Naruto increase his grip. I will do whatever it takes to keep our lineage strong and unyielding like it has in the past, Hiyashi replied, struggling against Naruto's grip. There are boundaries and family should be one of those. You already lost first daughter and if you keep this up you will lose Hanabi as well, Naruto said, seething. And even after everything you did Hinata is still going to forgive you, Naruto replied, calming down. Because that is the kind of person she is, I should kill you right now, Naruto replied as his Sharingan started spinning. That is enough Naruto-kun, Hinata said as she arrived in a shunshin with Hanabi in tow. Naruto calmed down and released Hiashi as he fell to the ground coughing and nursing his throat. Hinata approached her father and quickly applied a healing jutsu to heal the damage he took. Thank you Hinata-chan, Hiashi replied, as he stood up, smiling and making Naruto growl at him. Father, Hinata said and walked very slowly to him. Hiashi almost took a step back when he saw her smiling. Hinata approached Hiashi and whispered into his ear. I'm going to keep an eye on you. If I find that you have continued this treatment of her, I will kill you myself, Hinata whispered and backed off locking eyes with her father. Understood. Hinata asked and Hiashi nodded going back to his stoic self. Come Hanabi-chan, Hiashi said motioning her daughter to take his side. Hanabi hesitated for a moment before remembering what she and Hinata agreed. Reluctantly Hanabi walked forward until she was by her father's side. You are always welcome at the Hyuga clan, Hiashi said towards Hinata who remained neutral. Come Neji, Hiashi said as the three of them walked off. What were you thinking? Hinata asked towards Naruto. Why did you need to embarrass him? In front of Neji, a branch member of all Hyugas. Hinata asked. Just trying to make him see the light, but I know now that it's useless, Naruto replied walking forward and placing an arm around Hinata. And don't need to worry about Hanabi. He will never do anything to her, Naruto replied. What makes you so sure? Hinata wondered. Regardless of what he wants, he needs an heir to the clan and Hanabi is the only viable choice. He would never give it to a branch member, Naruto reasoned. Everything he did was to ensure that he got a strong heir to lead the clan. I think we should move up our timetable on dealing with them, Naruto explained and Hinata nodded. It was time to begin their plan and the preparations would take a few days. Toba's hideout, mountain's graveyard. A swirling sound could be heard in a cave deep beneath the earth. Toby had just arrived from his rather colorful reunion with Senju Naruto, Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi. Naruto had just threatened his entire organization with death. But the problem was that the brat could back up his threats. Naruto had just killed 2 members of his group. The Kyuubi brat intrigues me to no end, Toby said to himself as he wondered how the Geto Mazo could react to Naruto's chakra. It was true that Naruto released enough chakra to match a Biju, but even then, something was off. The air around Toby swirled again and Zetsu was dropped to the floor. Toby narrowed his eyes at the plant-like men and wondered what he would do with him. What do you intend to do? The white Zetsu asked, breaking Toby from his thoughts. If I gave an order that would conflict with Naruto's orders, whose orders would you follow? Toby wondered. My allegiance is to my maker, so Madara-sama's blood will always be my master, the white Zetsu replied, making Toby curse in his breath. And your clones? Toby asked. My clones are but blank soldiers. They can be programmed to obey only you if that is what you wish, Zetsu replied, making Toby smile behind his mask. Excellent, Toby replied. What will you do now? Zetsu asked. Naruto revealed that I'm not Uchiha Madara to the whole group at once. That will make Nagato an unstable pawn on my side. I will have to tread carefully dealing with him as of now, Toby replied, bringing his hand to his chin. If it comes to that, I will personally kill him and takes his Rinnegan, Toby said, sighing. Though he still had his uses, Toby said, chuckling. We will let things unfold for now. Let's wait and see what Naruto's next move is, Toby said as he walked off into the hideout. In the meantime, I'm going to give Naruto a little present, Toby said, smirking behind his mask. I'm going to show him that I am no prey, Toby said, looking at the shinobi kneeling in front of him. I have a mission for you, Toby said, making the shinobi rise her head and display her glowing blood-red eyes. Now Chan. Chapter 46 The Choices We Make. Previously I have a mission for you, Toby said, making the shinobi rise her head and display her glowing blood-red eyes. Now Chan. Now What's the mission, Fugaku-sama? Now asked, raising her head to lock eyes with her leader. Blood-red eyes with black tomos shining behind her black bangs of hair that threatened to block her eyes. This mission is to be completed at all costs, Fugaku said behind his orange mask and now only nodded. Naruto decided to threaten all of the Akatsuki with death, and me particular, since I was responsible for the death of his father and mother, Fugaku explained, and now simply heard what he had to say. I want to show Naruto that there are no lengths to where I would go, There is nothing I wouldn't do to complete the Tasuki no Mi Kikaku Eye of the Moon plan. Fugaku said with his lone Sharingan glowing. You wish for me to assassinate Hyuga Hinata. Now wondered. If Fugaku truly wanted to harm Naruto, she would be the most effective target of all of Konoha. No, Fugaku replied, making now raise her eyebrows. I want you to kill the king of Konoha, Fugaku said, smiling darkly. The king now asked, confused, not knowing what he meant. The academy, Fugaku said with his Sharingan glowing. I want you to kill every single student in there, Fugaku said, and Nao's eyes widened. What? Nao yelled in surprise. Is there a problem? Fugaku asked, narrowing his eyes. Why you want me to kill some innocent kids who aren't even shinobi? Nao said, looking at the floor, not willing to lock eyes with her leader. I don't want them just dead, I want them bloody. Naruto will know that it was a mistake to irk me, Fugaku said, looking intently at Nao. You will follow my orders, correct? Fugaku asked in a firm tone and narrowed his eyes when Nao hesitated. Yes, Nao replied in a defeated tone. I will do as you wish, Fugaku-sama, Nao said. Excellent, Fugaku said in a happier tone. Don't disappoint me again, Fugaku said and swirled away. Nao sighed and got up and started walking away. Konoha's graveyard, middle of the night. If no one else is going to say it, then I am, Naruto said, crossing his arms. This is disgusting even by my standards, Naruto said, pointing at the gates that lead to the graveyard. What are you complaining about? Hinata huffed. I'm the one that is going to cut her open, Hinata replied, and Naruto's face contorted in horror. Bunch of hussies, Tobirama replied as he stood there with his arms crossed, watching the younglings. You aren't doing much either, Hashirama replied, making Tobirama's eye twitch. You are the Doden Earth user. It's your job, Tobirama replied, making Hashirama groan. So is Naruto, Hashirama replied, pointing towards Naruto. Oi, leave me out of this. You are the one with the Mokuten bloodline, Naruto replied. Will you shut up and get on with it? Tsunade roared, making everyone flinch at the sudden sound spike. Weren't we doing this at night to keep it a low profile? Mito rhetorically asked towards the fuming Tsunade. If you keep yelling, you are going to wake up half of Konoha, Mito reasoned. How can you deal with those three? Tsunade asked, pointing towards Tobirama, Hashirama and Naruto. They are like kids on a sugar rush, Tsunade said, sighing. You get used it to eventually, but why are you complaining? You are a Senju as well, Mito replied. At least Minato wasn't so loud since he was an Uchiha. The Uchiha always were a quiet bunch. In fact, the Uchiha and Senju were the opposite in almost everything, including personalities. Are we going to do this or wait until the Anbu find us during their night patrol? Minato asked, breaking the fight going on. Fine. Let's get this on with, Hashirama said and turned to Tsunade. Whose grave are we profaning again? Hashirama asked. Now Uchiha 13 years old. She was the daughter of Mika Uchiha and Sora Uchiha and had an older sister by the name of Nana Uchiha, Tsunade replied, opening and reading her file. She graduated at age 7 along with Itachi Uchiha, and both of them were enrolled in the same team. They both became Chunin at the age of 10. Then they split up. Itachi joined Anbu and now continued her job becoming a Junin just before getting killed, Tsunade read from the file. It says here that she was very talented in fire ninjutsu, even among other Uchihas. She was the only one that came close to even rivaling the Uchiha Itachi before he did the cleanup, Tsunade explained as she closed her file and everyone walked towards the grave site. A good Uchiha is a dead one, Tobirama answered, much to the shock of everyone. Tobirama, Hashirama yelled and Tobirama huffed. You know I'm right, Tobirama replied. What about Minato? Hashirama asked, pointing towards the blonde. He's all right, Tobirama replied, and everyone's sweat dropped. Let's just dig her up and be done with this, Tsunade stated. Here lies Uchiha now, a proud Uchiha, may she rest in peace. Hashirama kneeled, placing both hands on the ground. The ground shook a little bit as the earth slowly began to break apart. The ground split in two as the coffin slowly made its way up towards the surface. Once the coffin was outside, Hashirama closed the hole. Who wants to do the honors? Tsunade asked and Hashirama shrugged. Hashirama's arm turned into wood as he used it crack open the coffin. The top of the coffin fell to the ground and everyone coughed as the small cloud of dust was set free. What did I say? Naruto rhetorically asked, pointing towards the decomposed cadaver in front of them. Disgusting, Naruto replied. The cadaver in front of them at least still had skin, but it was all dried up and brownish looking. She was just a little girl, Hinata said, overlooking the cadaver of a 13-year-old. Hinata kneeled down and ran a small diagnostic jutsu. Prognosis. Tsunade asked as Hinata worked her magic on the cadaver. Her eyes are missing, Hinata said in shock when she found empty eye sockets. Members of the Uchiha and Hyuga clans have their eyes removed and destroyed at death to prevent exactly what we are doing right now, Tsunade explained, and Hinata nodded, going back her work. Cause of death, blade through the heart, Hinata replied. It doesn't seem to be a fake. All the normal indicators are here. This is a normal human body, Hinata replied, and Naruto took a kunai and cut off a piece of her skin. A blade through the heart, Hinata wondered out loud, gathering the attention of everyone. Once the blade pierces it, the organ structure is immediately compromised and the blood flow is severed. The lack of oxygenated blood shuts down the human brain in just a few seconds, Hinata said, looking over the body of the young girl. Death is almost instantaneous, Hinata said sadly. What are you doing? Hinata wondered until she saw Naruto sit on the ground and go through hand seals. Kuchios. Edo Tensei, Impure World Resurrection. Naruto said, slamming his hands together as the ground glowed purple around the shadow clone. A few seconds passed and nothing passed. You're losing your touch, Minato snickered, only for Naruto to bring his hand to his chin in thought. He performed the technique correctly. Either Uchiha now is still alive or her soul is sealed somewhere else other than the pure world, Tobirama inferred as he brought his hand to his chin. Did she had any medical training? Naruto asked towards Tsunade, who looked over the file. Only the basics. She was strictly a taijutsu, ninjutsu and genjutsu user, Tsunade said, and watched as Naruto looked around. What are you thinking, Naruto? Tsunade asked in a serious voice. Did the coroner or the one who performed the autopsy cross-match the DNA to the files? Naruto asked, and Tsunade narrowed her eyes. That's classified information, Naruto. Only myself and the top medical officers know that we have a DNA database of all of our shinobi. Care to explain how you found out? Tsunade asked. When you found Sakura's remains in ash. You said it so yourself, Naruto replied, and got thinking. According to Hinata-chan, this is a human body and its DNA matched the one in the database, Naruto wondered out loud. A 13-year-old without any medical training, while still a Junin, wouldn't be able to fake her death to this extent, Naruto said as he walked around until he stopped next to another grave. Here lies Uchiha Makoto, loved by her family, cherished by her friends, may she rest in peace. Naruto tapped his foot on the ground and watched the earth split itself and another coffin rose to the ground. Wait, Naruto, Kushina said as she rushed her son. She was a dear friend. Be respectful, Kushina said, looking over the headstone. Naruto nodded and used his kunai to spread the coffin apart. Inside the coffin laid another cadaver. It was in a similar shape of Nao's, the skin was dry and withered. Though this cadaver belonged to a fully developed woman. Like Nao, she had the markings of a blade in the middle of her chest. Naruto cut off a piece of her skin, sat on the ground once again. Kuchios. Edo Tensei, Impure World Resurrection. Naruto said as the ground glowed purple around the shadow clone. A few seconds had passed and nothing had happened yet again. Something is off here, Naruto said and turned to Hinata, but she was already on the cadaver of Uchiha Makoto. It's a human body as well, Hinata replied, and Naruto was wondering what the hell was happening. Did Itachi use some type of sealing jutsu when he slaughtered his clan? Tobirama, Mito, Naruto called out, gathering the attention of both of them. Set up a small barrier around the graveyard so that we aren't interrupted, Naruto ordered, and both of them went to work on it. Father, Naruto said and turned to Minato. Set up a genjutsu on the barrier to disguise it, Naruto said, and Minato nodded. Who died and made you boss? Kushina asked jokingly, but Naruto didn't reply as he was busy. What are you planning, Naruto? Tsunade asked, curious about what Naruto had planned. Taju Kage Bunshin, multiple shadow clones. Naruto called out with his fingers in a T shape. Spread out in groups of 2. Each group takes a tomb. Once Hinata has verified that the cadaver is really human, use the Impure World Resurrection, Naruto ordered and watched as the clones went to work. Hinata quickly made enough shadow clones to match the number of tombs and everyone went to work. Something is off. The Uchiha were always secretive since they lived in the outskirts of the village. But suddenly one of their own turns on them and kills them all but leaves his brother alive. Naruto questioned in doubt. A few years later not one but two Uchihas appear out of nowhere. And to make matters worse, their souls are not in the pure world, where they are supposed to be, Naruto explained. Something is off in all of this, Naruto stated out loud and everyone nodded. This Uchiha massacre stinks and Naruto would go to the end of it to find the real truth. It took half an hour for everyone to go through every single coffin of the Uchiha clan and he wasn't able to revive anyone. Everyone's bodies were still there minus the body of Uchiha Shisui. Do you think it's possible for Itachi to have sealed everyone somewhere? Naruto asked towards Minato, Mito and Tobirama. Nothing like getting a second opinion. Possible. Yes. Although it's very unlikely, Mito replied. They were all killed by a blade through the heart. According to Hinata that was the cause of death which makes sealing their souls even more unlikely, Minato added and Naruto nodded. Besides, sealing rituals take a considerable amount of chakra and time, and to seal everyone in the clan, in a single night it's highly unlikely, Minato explained and Tobirama nodded in agreement. So the more logical outcome is that they faked their own deaths, Naruto said and everyone agreed. We need to talk with the old man about this. He was the ruling Hokage at the time, Naruto said and proceeded to bury everyone except Nao, which Hinata was taking to the hospital for a more deep examination. Those were human bodies that had the same DNA. These clones of some sort required vast knowledge of medical jutsu to create. What about the Uchiha brat that remained? Tobirama remembered and everyone stopped walking. Itachi had killed everyone but had left Sasuke alive. Why? Do you think that the Sasuke that remained was also a fake? Hinata wondered. What a mess this was turning out to be. No, he was the original alright, Naruto replied. What makes you say that? Minato wondered. Because Tobi broke him out from the Anbu prison. If he was simply a clone, Tobi would just let him die like everyone else in there, Naruto explained pointing to the graveyard. These are all suppositions, you know that right? Mito said and Naruto nodded. I'll ask Jiraiya-kun to keep an eye open for Uchihas. Maybe his spy network can give us some hints, Tsunade said and everyone walked home. They had to talk with Hiruzen in the morning and get the facts clear. Forest outside of Konoha. It was the middle of the day at the forests of Konoha. The birds were chirping peacefully and the wind was rustling through the leaves. Everything seemed quiet and peaceful until an blonde blur was seen jumping from branch to branch. The person running towards Konoha was Uchiha now, although she was a little bit different. Instead of her usual black hair, she was now blonde and the once pitch black eyes were now a dark brown. Her usual attire was also different. Instead of the traditional dark blue vest with the Uchiha clan and her sword on his back, she now supported simpler clothes, more civilian clothes to be specific. She wore a short-sleeved pink shirt with the end of the sleeves and the collar being red in color and had black pants. Now continued jumping from branch to branch. She looked up and noticed the big green gates of Konoha. She was nearing Konoha. She jumped to the ground and started walking as a civilian should. Halt! Kotetsu yelled as he blocked Nao's path. Nao smiled as she stopped walking. Sorry for the outburst, Kotetsu said, scratching the back of his head. He had a little red tinge on his cheeks as he looked towards the beauty in front of him. No problem at all, Nao replied, smiling Kotetsu's embarrassment. Cough cough. Kotetsu cleared his throat as he tried to regain his bearings. Reasons for vising Konoha? Kotetsu asked as he tried to look professional. That would be telling, Nao smiled as her eyes gained a red color. She gazed at Kotetsu with her Sharingan cast a small genjutsu. Of course. Enjoy your stay, Kotetsu replied. Nao smiled as Kotetsu went back for his booth and Nao went on her way. How nostalgic, Nao said to herself as she looked around the busy streets of Konoha. It was the middle of the day and the streets were booming with activity. Nothing has changed, Nao smiled as she looked over Konoha. Everything was still the same as it was almost 10 years ago. The only difference she could see was the fifth face on the Hokage monument. Nao had almost forgotten the warmth of Konoha. She looked to her left and saw a few villagers laughing. To her right she saw a man trying his best to drag on drunk friend around. She went to a shop and bought a few dango sticks. So good. I've almost forgotten how good this was, Nao said as she continued walking while eating her sweets. She looked forward and her heart almost stopped when she saw two people coming right towards her. The male had long blonde, waist-length, and spiky hair with fangs that framed his face and partially covered his right deep blue eye. He also had three distinctive whiskers marks on each cheek. The female to his side had straight, waist-length, Heim-style haircut. Her eyes were white, trademark of the Byakugan. Thump now could feel her heartbeat increasing with each step she took. Step by step she could see them getting closer and closer. She steadied herself as she couldn't do anything out of the ordinary. She knew that both of them were skilled sensors and any altercation on her chakra and her mission was blown. Thump now took a deep breath and time almost stopped as she crossed both of them. She tilted her body to the side as she slightly grazed Hinata's shoulder due to the crowd. Now almost panicked but continued forward as if nothing had happened. She let out a breath of relief when she felt their chakra getting farther and farther away. Suddenly Hinata stopped walking and turned around to look at the crowd. Something wrong? Naruto asked as he noticed Hinata look at the crowd. It's nothing. I just thought I saw someone I knew, Hinata replied and Naruto nodded. Hinata turned around and both of them went their way. That was way too close, now thought to herself as leaned against a wall in an alley. If she had been caught she would been killed. If I remember correctly the academy was this way, now thought and made her way towards the academy. At the academy come on, now heard as she arrived the academy. Outside there were a few students doing laps around the field as their instructor was cheering them on to make them run faster. Now made her towards the main entrance of the academy and made her way towards the classrooms. It was amazing how everything was still the same. She continued walking around until she crossed one of the rooms she used to take classes. She focused chakra into her ears and focused on the lecture going on. Now, Ruruka said gathering the attention of his students. What can you tell me about the High no Ishi, will of fire? Ruruka asked and a girl instantly raised her hand. The will of fire is something that the Sandaime Hokage used to say in his lectures. He says that every true Konoha shinobi must love, believe, cherish and fight for the village's sake, as previous generations had done before them, the girl started. According to Sandaime-sama this is what gives Konoha shinobi the strength to continue fighting against all odds, the girl explained. Very good hero, Ruruka replied getting a toothy grin from her. The will of fire is the belief that should guides us. This is what gives us strength to fight for those we hold dear, Ruruka explained and continued on with his lecture. The will of fire. Now thought to herself. She had never heard anything like this before. Interesting how times and professors change. Flashback now had just gotten back her mission briefing with Fugaku and she made her way towards the graveyard. She stopped near a headstone with the name of Nana Uchiha. What would you do big sis? Now wondered and thought. Now Chan, now heard some soft voice and looked up to see a fair-skinned woman with long, black hair with bangs hanging on both sides of her face to roughly frame her cheeks and black eyes. She wore a simple dark blue blouse with the Uchiha clan's fan on the back and black short skirt. Makoto-sama, now said bowing to the wife of the clan leader. What troubles you my dear? Makoto softly asked. Nothing Makoto-sama, now smoothly replied but Makoto could tell something was wrong. Your eyes tell a different story and I'm not talking about the Sharingan, Makoto explained. It's, now started but hesitated before she gathered her thoughts. I'm not sure if I want complete this mission Fugaku-sama gave me, now explained and Makoto nodded. There is only one thing I can tell you, Makoto started and got Nao's attention. Never do anything that you think is wrong. If you think deep down what you will do is wrong then don't do it. You will regret it for the rest of your life, Makoto sadly explained and now got curious. Did you do anything? Now asked. I betrayed my best friend. We grew up together and she was like a sister to me. We went to the academy together, we trained together, we talked about clothes, weapons, boys. And yet I'm the reason she and her husband are now dead and the reason I now possess these cursed eyes, Makoto said flaring her Sharingan and displaying her Mangekyo for the first time. Check profile for pic they are beautiful, now said enticed by the pattern Makoto displayed. Looks like a flower blossoming, now said and Makoto slowly nodded. Did you do it for your eyes? Now wondered but Makoto quickly denied. I was presented with a choice. Clan or Konoha, Makoto explained and now nodded. Itachi-kun chose Konoha while I chose my clan. We are what we choose. So, think about it and be sure of your choices you will live with forever, Makoto explained and started walking away. Wait, now suddenly screamed making Makoto stop. Thank you, now said with complete honesty. Makoto nodded smiling and continued walking until she was out of Nao's sight. End flashback damn him, Nao hissed as she turned around and started walking away from the academy. I may be a shinobi but even I have my morals and boundaries, Nao thought to herself choosing not to complete her mission. Few days later, Sarutobi compound the Sarutobi compound, home of the Sarutobi family. They had never applied for clan status so they didn't possess a seat in the council but that didn't seem to affect them. The Sarutobi clan members were all extremely skilled in taijutsu and both earth and fire ninjutsu. Some members even managed to surpass the Uchihas in the skill with fire. Such example was of course Sarutobi Hiruzen, the Sandaime Hokage. The man that was present in all three great shinobi wars and lead Konoha to victory in two of them. Extremely skilled in taijutsu, ninjutsu and unstoppable in bojutsu, staff techniques. Coupled this with his personal summon, Enma the Monkey King, Sarutobi became known as the god of the shinobi and hailed as the strongest shinobi of his generation. And his father before that, Sarutobi Sasuke was also an exceptionally strong shinobi. Strong enough to hold his own against some legends of the old world like Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Madara. Both of Hiruzen's son were also strong in their own way. The only one currently alive is Sarutobi Asuma, an elite Junin of Konoha, wind ninjutsu specialist and once a member of the 12 Shinobi Guardians. Ding dong, the bell rang through the whole Sarutobi compound. Standing at the gates were almost all of the dragons with their masks with the exception of both Naruto and Hinata. Tsunade was also there as she was the Hokage and she needed to know everything that went down on her village. The gates slowly opened and in came someone who had short spiky brown hair and black eyes. He wore long gray pants and a pale green jacket with a dark green stripe down the middle. He also wore his long blue scarf and now bore a Konoha protector in his forehead. Naruto ni-chan, Konohamaru greeted in happiness. Who's the brat? Blue Tobarama asked, pointing to Konohamaru who huffed. That would be Sarutobi Konohamaru, grandson of Sarutobi Hiruzen, Naruto explained and Green Hashirama crouched to his level. He looks like him, Green replied. Who are they? Konohamaru asked, pointing towards the masked guys standing next to Naruto, Hinata and Tsunade. I'll tell you someday, Naruto said ruffling his hair. We need to talk to the old man. Is he home? Naruto asked and Konohamaru nodded guiding them towards one of the many houses. This place hasn't changed, Green said as he looked over to the house where Hiruzen lived. It looked exactly the same as the last time he visited and that was many decades ago. I've never seen you here before, Konohamaru said once he heard Green's comment. You weren't here at the time, Green smoothly replied but Konohamaru shrugged his shoulders and led everyone towards Hiruzen's office. Konohamaru knocked at the door and heard his grandfather talking. He opened the door and Hiruzen could be seen smoking on his pipe as he was drawing some kind of painting. The room's window was opened as he seemed to be drawing the landscape he could see from that. Can we talk? Tsunade asked and Hiruzen noted the serious tone in her voice. He nodded and shooed Konohamaru away, closing the door. Mito quickly placed a few silence seals around the room to make sure that nothing got out. So, Hiruzen started blowing up a bit of smoke. What can I do for you? Hiruzen asked and watched as the dragons removed their masks and everyone sat on the ground. Where to begin? Tsunade mused and turned to Hinata. Why don't you begin with Kiri? Tsunade asked and Hinata nodded making Hiruzen focus on her. A few weeks ago we were given the mission to help the rebel side of the mist in the Bloodline War. Hinata started and Hiruzen was already surprised that Tsunade had agreed to such mission but he didn't focus much on that. We won the war but along the way I fought an Uchiha, Hinata said and Hiruzen raised an eyebrow. An Uchiha you say? Hiruzen asked taking a deep breath and motioned Hinata to go on. She said she was Uchiha now and she had an eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. I won the battle but she managed to demolish the building where I stood so I was unable to capture her, Hinata explained. I remember her, Hiruzen said sighing. She was a good girl and just as talented as Itachi. She didn't get much of a spotlight since with Itachi being a prodigy and son of the clan head she remained in his shadow. Always had the impression she had a good heart, Hiruzen explained. She was strong. She could use the Amaterasu flames, Susanoo and some type of genjutsu that would completely freeze the enemy's chakra network, paralyzing her opponent and leaving him completely exposed to an attack, Hinata explained. I understand but still fail to see what you expect from me. Hiruzen wondered curious. Uchiha now was supposed to have been killed when Itachi slaughtered his clan, Naruto said, making Hiruzen narrow his eyes at him. What can you tell us about the massacre of the Uchiha clan? Naruto asked, focusing his attention on the old man. Hiruzen sighed as he released a small cloud of smoke. What is there to tell? Hiruzen rhetorically asked, bringing his pipe to his mouth again. Itachi slaughtered his whole clan with the exception of his little brother, Hiruzen explained. Then how do you explain that there are two Uchihas alive besides Itachi and Sasuke? Tsunade asked, narrowing her eyes at Hiruzen. That I do not know, Hiruzen simply replied. Why did Itachi leave Sasuke alive? Naruto asked. Only Itachi can answer that, but perhaps he intended on taking Sasuke's eyes for himself. Hiruzen smoothly replied. You are lying, old man, Naruto said, smirking. I can feel your emotions. Guilt and regret, which means that you are not telling us the whole story, Naruto replied, and everyone narrowed their eyes at the third Hokage. Just tell what this is all about, Hashirama said. Very well, Hiruzen replied, sighing. He never expected the truth to come out after so many years. The truth is that Uchiha Itachi was ordered to eliminate the Uchiha clan by me, Hiruzen replied, and everyone stared with their eyes widened at the man. You what? Tsunade yelled, making everyone wince at the sound spike. And she complains about the noise. If that temper is anything to go by, she's a true-blooded senju, Mito though to herself. Why would do such thing, Hiruzen? Hashirama asked in disbelief. All that work he put into making the Senju and Uchiha clans form a village together. There was no other choice. It was either that or civil war in Konoha, Hiruzen started. The Uchihas were planning a coup d'état, and if it were to take place, Konoha would be divided and weakened. The other nations would have seized this opportunity to bring us down. In the end, Itachi volunteered to the mission and I approved it, Hiruzen explained. You did well, Hiruzen, Tobirama replied. How can you say that? Hashirama replied, getting up and locking eyes with Tobirama. You were always against the Uchihas, but this is a new low even for you, Hashirama replied, getting angry. They chose their path the moment they started planning it, Hiruzen started breaking the argument. I tried peace talks and Itachi did try to persuade them to abandon their foolish goal, but they didn't cave, so I took steps, Hiruzen explained. You could have asked me for help. Naruto replied. What could you do? Hiruzen rhetorically asked. An 8-year-old, despised by most of the village. Not everything revolves around you, and if someday you should ever take the hat, you will understand that not everything is black and white, Hiruzen replied. Naruto was surprised by the harsh tone coming from Hiruzen. This wasn't the kind old man he knew. No, this was the man that led Konoha into victory through 2 great shinobi wars. This was the god of shinobi. You are still naive, Naruto, Hiruzen said, slamming his fist on the ground. One day you will have to make choices that you will regret for the rest of your life. You will send your own people into missions that you know they will most likely never return. One day you will understand just what kind of sacrifices you will have to do in order to protect Konoha, Hiruzen explained. Is that what it means to be Hokage? Naruto thought to himself. I'm disappointed on you, Hiruzen, Hashirama replied. This isn't the will of fire I preached about. All members of the village are family and they shouldn't be exterminated like some infestation, Hashirama explained. He did the right thing, Tobirama firmly replied. Those half-bloods were never to be trusted. You think that I hated Madara, but he was the only one I trusted, Tobirama replied, making several jaws drop. He was a man of his word, unlike most of his clan, and he would never have sacrificed his little brother for his eyes. Those are lies fed to anyone that would hear by those inferior in power to him. Those half-bloods would do anything to rise above those of true blood, Tobirama explained. Why do you think he left the village in the first place? Tobirama rhetorically asked, crossing his arms. Because it wasn't for the fact that he wasn't made Hokage instead of you. He got fed up with his pathetic clan, and since he was the last of the true-blooded line he left, Tobirama explained. Then how to explain him challenging me for a battle? Hashirama asked, narrowing his eyes at his brother. That I do not know, but he must have had his reasons. We will never know, Tobirama explained. Madara wasn't so power-driven like those half-bloods. You remember the battles very well. They used their manchkis until they were consumed by their darkness. They used Izanagi like some toy, playing gods just to try to get the upper hand, Tobirama said, gritting his teeth. Izanagi. Kushina asked out loud. Izanagi is a kinjutsu of the Uchiha clan and their ultimate genjutsu, Naruto started. By sacrificing an eye, the Uchiha can use this technique to gain the power to turn imagination into reality. It was said to be derived from my creation of all things, Naruto explained, and Kushina's eyes widened along those who didn't know of this. Tobirama is right, Naruto replied, getting a shocked look from Hiruzen. If the Uchiha clan had committed to the coup d'état and used Izanagi, then Konoha would have fallen in a single night, Naruto explained, and Tobirama nodded. How come? Minato wondered. He had never read anything about this Izanagi technique. Imagine for an instant that Hiruzen attacked with Uchiha compound with several hundred of their men. The battle would definitely go in Hiruzen's favor due to the numbers. However, a single Izanagi cast would wipe out his army, Naruto explained, and Hiruzen was shocked by the power of the technique. This is good and all, but apparently they are still alive, Hinata said, and broke everyone from their rant. What do you mean? Hiruzen asked, confused. Last night we performed a mass exhumation on the Uchiha clan. Their bodies were all fakes. Every single member has apparently faked their own deaths, Hinata explained, but Hiruzen shook his head. It's not possible, Hiruzen replied in disbelief. We performed an autopsy on every single member and everything checked out. Besides, wouldn't Itachi notice them being fakes? Hiruzen asked. It was an assassination. The Uchiha clan never knew what hit them, Naruto explained. How can you tell that the bodies were fakes? Hiruzen asked, curious. Besides that fact that their souls aren't in the pure world, the bodies are, for lack of a better word, perfect, Hinata replied. I performed an autopsy on Nao's body and she was in perfect condition, Hinata explained. Shouldn't that be a good thing? Hiruzen asked, confused. She had no marks of broken bones, no scar tissue or any type of bruising history. Now that would be fine for a civilian but not for a shinobi. Besides, her medical history indicates she had broken her ribs before and this body had no evidence of it, Hinata explained, and Hiruzen stared at her in disbelief. So let me get this straight, Tsunade said, and gathered the attention to her. You order Itachi to wipe out his clan and he follows your orders, leaving only Sasuke alive. In the end, it turns out that the Uchiha clan is still alive and faked their own death, Tsunade explained, going thought the facts. I wonder why Itachi left his brother alive, Minato wondered out loud. It was his only request, Hiruzen said. We already made a huge request by ordering him to kill his own clan, but he couldn't kill his little brother. The deal was for him to kill the Uchihas in return of leaving little Sasuke alive, Hiruzen explained. A true shinobi. To think he sacrificed so much for Konoha, Tobirama replied. And he was a half-blood Tobirama. Even among them there were some good souls, Hashirama said. Either that or this Itachi is in with them on this whole fake scheme, Tobirama replied, and Hashirama shook his head at Tobirama's stubbornness. If Itachi had been on this, then he would have killed Sasuke instead of leaving him here alone, Naruto replied. Who knew Itachi would be the good guy after all? Naruto thought to himself, wondering why Itachi joined the Akatsuki after everything he did for Konoha. That makes sense, Tobirama replied. Who else knows about the real truth behind the massacre? Tsunade asked. Homura, Kaharu and Danzo. Since all four of us come to the final decision, Hiruzen replied. I have a question, Kushina said, and everyone turned to her. If the Uchiha clan is still alive, why have they been hiding for so many years? Kushina threw the question into the air. I have a feeling that Tobi has a hand in all of this, Naruto started. Don't you think it's strange that Tobi was in Kiri and that was the first place we encountered another Uchiha? Naruto rhetorically asked, and few nodded. It was too much of a coincidence. If so, then the Akatsuki became more dangerous if they the Uchiha clan in their midst, Tsunade explained. Let's keep this under wraps until we know more, Tsunade explained, and everyone rose. Some things are better off buried forever.